My top 5 limit pushingest games. A pretty simple idea. I've been making these limit pushing videos for a while now. I still haven't covered every system, but I've covered a lot, and I thought maybe now would be a good opportunity to go over what I have done and let you know what I think are the most limit pushingest, most impressive games that I've seen. The games that push their respective systems the most, the games that go furthest in heroic programming. Not necessarily the best games, though most of them are pretty good, but games that take their systems furthest. Games that go to places you never thought possible. But before I get into the list, today's video is sponsored by Top 11. Yes, indeed, Top 11 is a free-to-play football management game available on iOS, Android and web browser. You can play it darn near everywhere. As a manager in Top 11, you are in charge of every aspect of your club. Signing players, running training, setting up formations and ultimately leading the squad to winning trophies is all part of the experience of managing. Play against other managers from around the world with 4 competitions happening in every Top 11 season: the League, the Cup, the Champions League and the Super League. There's always fun ways to play with friends. You can even team up and form an association to play against other groups of managers around the world. You can also set up a friendly championship and form a league with your friends, colleagues, housemates, family members, pets, fellow jurors, wherever you are. All to compete for the bragging rights of who is the best football manager among you. There's something for every football fan in Top 11. You can customise your ground, you can collect jerseys and emblems, and lots more. So why not give it a go? Click that link, folks, that would be smashing. Hey, it helps this channel, and if you're a football fan with a hankering for some gaming on the go, this might just do the business. So download it now from the link in the description below. Okay, that out the way, let's get on with this list, shall we? Starting at number 5, we've got Jurassic Park on the Super NES. A great game. Well, it's probably not on anyone's list of all-time classics, but it isn't bad, and it's a darn sight better than many other licensed tie-in games. Its most impressive feature is not these 2D sections, which are fine on their own, but this. These 3D first-person shooter Doom-style levels. Why is this impressive? Didn't the Super NES already have Doom, and was it not amazing but better than this? Yes it did, yes it was, but SNES Doom relied upon the Super FX2 chip built into the cartridge. Jurassic Park here runs on the base hardware, no special chips at all. That is pretty notable. The Super NES was not blessed with the fastest of processors, making 3D graphics a serious challenge without help. This game cleverly uses Mode 7 in a rather weird, unorthodox way to make a frame buffer, allowing it to get around the limitations of tile-based graphics. Yes, it doesn't look quite so good, but this manages to get surprisingly close to the results of the Super FX without the Super FX. For full details, have a look at my Super NES limit pushing video, but it is stupid clever. Number 4, it's Prehistoric Man on the Game Boy. Any original monochrome Game Boy game is going to have to look pretty spectacular to make up for the lack of colour. Many notable games ended up on the Game Boy, playing great but looking unsurprisingly somewhat muted. Prehistoric Man though makes a notable exception, a game that's visually as impressive as anything you'll see on an 8-bit system. Yes, it's all black and white, but lord, every other graphical effect is on display, including some very clever parallax scrolling, something the Game Boy shouldn't be able to do with its single scrolling background layer. A lot of inspiration here seems to be taken from the demo scene, so whilst it all does look very nice, a lot of this wizardry doesn't serve much purpose gameplay-wise. Not the best platform game on the Game Boy when it comes to gameplay, not by a long way, but I would say the most technically impressive. The final boss fight is an absolute marvel. See my Game Boy video for full details of how I think this is done. It is pretty technically complex. Coming in at number 3, it's Panorama Cotton on the Sega Mega Drive or Sega Genesis. An absolutely stunning looking rails shooter loaded with insane graphical effects and bursting with colour. The pseudo 3D backgrounds are the thing that really sells it though. They look absolutely fabulous. A lot of people mistake these for Mode 7, something the Mega Sys absolutely did not have. That was very much a Super Nintendo thing. They actually work in quite a different way, with clever manipulation of the background scrolling capabilities of the system. In fact, it works rather like an old school racing game, the background tracks made by slicing up triangular textures in the graphics memory. A kind of complicated technique, but have a look at my Mega Drive video once again if you want to see the full details. You might be surprised that this isn't higher up, it just looks so good, but what's coming next is, well, I think even more impressive, and let's not forget, the Genesis was a pretty powerful system. Number 2, let's go for Buzzsaw on the ZX Spectrum. A modern release from 2011, but it does something amazing. There's probably a few games I could reasonably put in this place because the key thing here is multicolour, and a few people were working on the same idea at the same time, but I believe this got there first. Yes, any hardcore Specky fan will tell you that the Spectrum's colour capabilities, or lack of them, were always limited to no more than 2 different colours in any 8x8 character block. The cause of the infamous colour clash. This, alongside the Spectrum's garish palette, is what made Spectrum graphics so distinct. This game though was a real shocker on release because it broke that old restriction wide open. More colours than anyone ever thought possible with the old Specky, jaw-dropping to anyone who grew up with the shortcomings of this system. Attempts had been made to do this sort of effect for years, but they had never really been practical enough to use in a game. Jason Railton's Buzzsaw though proved that it was possible. And as a Spectrum fan from way back, this was truly incredible to see at the time. Hardware limitations that seemed to be written in stone were broken. Of course, many other people ran with this idea, and quite a few multicolour games are now out there, many of them taking it even further than Buzzsaw. El Stompo from Stone Chat Productions being one of my particular favourites, based on the Nirvana game engine by Einar Saukas. So what's going to be number 1? What is my personal favourite, most impressive limit pushing game? Well, it's got to be Elite on the NES. Perhaps a slow burner for some people this one, but what's so impressive about it? I mean, Elite appeared on many 8-bit systems, didn't it? It began its life on the BBC Micro, using pretty much the same processor as the NES did. It was on the ZX Spectrum and C64 too whilst we're about it, so what's so special about the NES? Well, the NES had a lot of fine features, but it was not built to play a game like this. It was a tile-based system. A lot of people have a problem with the way I say that word, T-I-L-E, but anyway. The NES's graphics were designed from the start to be based on a finite number of predefined graphics tiles, and the trouble is that just won't work for a game like Elite. You need to be able to draw arbitrary shapes for wireframe graphics like this, and the NES can't do that. Unless you swap graphics ROM in the cartridge for RAM and come up with a clever system to create what the NES lacks, a bitmap frame buffer. 2D backgrounds and sprites was what the NES was made for. It did those sort of graphics really well for something that came out in 1983, but the polygons of Elite were surely never part of Nintendo's plan. Getting this running on the NES was a major achievement, and this doesn't just run, it's easily the best 8-bit version of Elite. And that's according to original creator Ian Bell, so I won't argue. And limit pushing this really is. It seems like it only just works, bumping up against the limits of how fast the NES can update its graphics. It's still not entirely clear that this actually runs properly on the NTSC NES at all. It was only ever officially released in Europe, and the timing is so tight that it may only work on PAL systems which have a lower refresh rate and therefore more time between frames to update the graphics. Is there a fully working NTSC version? I've not seen definite proof of that. So I'm gonna give the crown to the NES and Elite. I did feature Elite in a video I did a while ago, which I will link to, but a more updated view on the ins and outs of this game is coming soon as part of a video on NES enhancement chips, so watch out for that. Well, that's my list for now. Maybe in the future I'll find even more limit pushing games, but so far I would say these are my favourite feats of game coding. I should probably also give special mention to the amazing Project Nested, the NES emulator on the SNES. More stuff on that coming up. It's not a game itself, but wow is it impressive. It's also going to one day run Elite, hopefully, according to the creator anyway, limit pushingest to the max. So thanks once again to Top 11 for sponsoring this vid. Download it today from the link in the description. Go and give it a go and help support this channel. This has been a bit of a last minute video, but my release schedule can be a bit ponderous, so I don't think it'll do me any harm to get more stuff out. Tell me what you think of it in the comments, and tell me if you agree with my conclusions. I doubt there'll be many arguments, so perfectly in tune am I with my audience. But in the outside chance that you do think I'm talking rubbish, well, let me know in the comments what I should have featured instead of what I did. Thanks as always to my Patreons. If you'd like to join them, that would be fantastic. There's a link below. There's a lot of links below, but there's a link to my Patreon as well as everything else. I have a bit of a cold at the moment, so I probably sound even worse than usual, but I have confirmed that it isn't COVID. I'm okay, folks. So thank you very much for watching. Thanks for getting this far. I'll say goodbye, and I'll see you next time.